Welcome everybody in. Thank you so much for joining in this celebratory week of LaunchBox. It's been a great week so far. This is, I think, the fourth stream that we're having this week. And new face, I'm not Andy or Josh. And thank you for coming into the chat. Games 3ND, Chocobone. You've been loving LaunchBox. So happy to hear that. You put it on every PC. Dartnat. So I'm going to butcher some of these names. Andre Rodrigo. Welcome in. Thank you for joining. It's been a long, nice week of the LaunchBox celebration. So I hope that you guys been enjoying it. Any part of this celebration that's been happening here at launchbox-app.com/celebrate. I guess I should post that into the chat just in case anybody wants to look into the celebration if you haven't yet. I don't know, how's everybody been enjoying the celebration? What have you guys been up to this week? Maybe you purchased one of the licenses on sale. You've been waiting for a sale, and now's your chance to pick up either an Android or Windows license of some kind. Maybe you participated in some of these streams or the forum events or the giveaway here. Lots of stuff here scheduled, listed on the page. We've gone through. Oh yeah, we're on this day, aren't we? Where yes, we will be discussing Dartnat. How to use XAML, or more importantly, WPF, or I guess more importantly, just building themes in LaunchBox and BigBox. What is that all about? And how can you guys get started? And then maybe I'll go into the weeds a little bit. We'll see how far we can get there. And maybe start building stuff, or at least starting building stuff. The difference between building, I don't know, if you're wanting to build a really nice theme, it really does unfortunately take longer than one stream, but I could get started on something exciting and show how that process is to get started. There's been a lot of stuff happening this week, hasn't there? I'm very excited about these new community top picks and the party time posts there. So you haven't participated in them, definitely do, because your choices in those posts will matter, in the sense that all of those games that are posted in both of those posts will be turned into a playlist that everybody with Big Box will see inside of the Games Discovery Center. And Games 3ND, you're enjoying all the streams. You did some of the forum stuff. It's really cool to see what you were doing. You had LaunchBox and BigBox for years, but you needed the Android one still. So, but you're waiting to get paid. So you'll just pay the full price for the forever license. All right. Well, that's good to hear. And Devious Furball, you tried to buy a lifetime license upgrade, but I told you already had one. Well, there you go. Mission successful. And Mr. Nibble, getting ideas for party games for the family has been great. Yeah, in that post, definitely lots and lots of cool suggestions so far, for sure. Oh, and thank you, Games 3ND. You are very kind, and hopefully today I can give back. I don't know how excited people are about theming. Maybe not so much as I am, but definitely I do want to get started on that. But before I do that, let's make sure if my volumes are okay for you guys. Let me know if I'm too quiet. I can always raise that. I'm going to raise it a little bit so that you guys can maybe hear me a little better. Let me know how that sounds. Games 3ND, you've been looking forward to Theme Day. That's great. I'm glad that somebody has. Yeah. You know, and myself, I love just being able to go into LaunchBox, messing around, teaching you guys things about LaunchBox, but really my love is there for the themes. Much better volume. Okay, good to hear. Good to hear. All right, so let's get started. Before we get started, now that you guys can hear me, I guess I should introduce myself. If you don't know who I am, my name's Brian. I am the product manager here at LaunchBox for the last bunch of years or so. And if you want to know more about who I am, I think I have a post over on the forums that explains a few things. But essentially, I do a little bit of everything here and oversee most of the projects, I guess all of the projects that come down the pipe, and deal with the directions of how everything goes and dabble in theming. And, I probably touched the stuff that you've been using. So hopefully you've been enjoying it. And you're saying, Ordinary Rob, that you finally upgraded to your lifetime license. Congratulations. I'm glad you made it there and you joined the ranks of us all with the lifetime license. Okay, so that's who I am. That's what we're going to be doing. We're going to jump into theming in general. We're going to talk a little bit about what theming is and talk about the different types of theming. Then we're going to go very specific on big box theming for a little while. And then the new Games Discovery Center and the fact that that is also fully themable. And we'll talk about that as well. Oh, and Dragoon Demon, you're saying you modded the Tilt theme using the theme creator to add full screen videos. There you go. That's good. I'm glad that theme has given you at least a little bit of joy. I sort of remember creating that one. I sort of remember that I probably did it on stream, didn't I? And Dartnat, you buy a lifetime for PC and Windows and Windows, other for Android. Okay, that's good to hear. And here you go. Yeah, here's a good question from Weathered Pecker. What's everyone's opinion on the best theme for PC and the View? I guess that is a loaded question because there's just so many options, right? I think the last I checked, there was definitely well over 200 themes available, either through the theme manager in LaunchBox or through the forums. And each theme has a number of views potentially, but there's a lot, right? There's a lot of options. And Aces Arcade, Vision, and Coverbox Fragments. Nice. I at least built 2 of those, so I'm glad that you're using those. And I'm loving what's been going on with Coverbox Fragments. Gave my blessing to the guy, a good guy building the Coverbox Fragments theme, and been teaching him a little bit. He's been asking me questions a little bit about how to build those themes up, and always happy to give my answers. If you ever have a question about theming, if you are a theme developer and you want an answer, find me on the forums as Faeran. Hey Rincewind, glad you could actually be here and join. Hopefully it's not such a bad time for you. And Games 3ND, you create the colorful theme. That is also another good one. I pretty sure I built that one too, depending on which version you're using. That's definitely a nice one. But it was designed out by a good friend, Viking. He is a great designer, but self-proclaimed knows nothing about theming. But maybe he'll watch this and he'll learn a little bit about how theming is created. So let's try to jump in and welcome in S3 Prototype. That's right, 4 days in a row, LB streaming. It's going to be 5 days. We are also going to stream tomorrow, so definitely watch that. We're going to do quite a Interesting, nice stream where we combine sort of an AMA with actually finally playing some games. Right? That's how it is. You like work on your library for 4 days, and then on the fifth day you're allowed to play games. And ED 2091, which theme? You are dependent on the platform and the device. Yeah. See, like and personally, I can't pick one. I love jumping around. I love seeing what everybody's themes are, especially the ones I have not built, so that I can get inspiration and ideas on all the cool stuff that people do in their themes. And Dragoon Demon, the actual theme you're using right now, is the mini consoles theme. That is a great one too. Yeah. I think there's a couple different mini console themes, to be honest. An S3 prototype, my voice is like the Bob Ross of retro games. You know, that surprisingly, not the first time I heard that. There might have been a time where I put on a Bob Ross wig and did an entire stream like that once. That was a different life, though, a long time ago. Oh, it's Super Rob, the good old reliable default theme. Yeah. See, what's great about the default theme is that if you just want a theme that sort of works and has any new theming or features that you don't have to wait for a custom theme dev to include, default theme is sort of the way to go. But what's great about the system is that you can just take any theme, including the default theme, and you say, well, I don't like, X, Y, Z. You can just change them yourself. You just create your own custom theme, make the changes that you want. And how do you do that? Well, let's kind of get started on that. Excuse me. Theming is essentially, if you don't know, just the way to change the look and feel of the program, whether it be LaunchBox or BigBox. In fact, we have, I think, 5 different themes, types of themes. There's LaunchBox themes, obviously. There's BigBox themes. Those are the 2 main ones. But we also have startup and shutdown themes, and pause themes, and of course, LaunchBox. Can't forget about LaunchBox for Android themes. Everything is basically themable at this point. What themes will not do is change how things navigate or change the core features of the app. Like the theme is like a splash of paint. It's like HTML if you ever use that, or Photoshop. We can change the way things look, but I can't dive into the code and change how things operate. You're kind of confined by what's there, what the theme engine provides you. The theming code, at least for LaunchBox, BigBox, all of those types of themes, is run or driven by a language called WPF. It is a Microsoft language. You can look it up, and if you might already know WPF because it's not BigBox or LaunchBox specific, and you already are like 80% of the way there. You already know how to theme, basically, and all you need to know is to pick up the little big box pieces. So really, a theme is WPF driving it, and then sort of specific LaunchBox and big box bindings that we've created that help you create the theme that you want to see. But let's take a look at the specifics here. I've got a LaunchBox folder. I built this LaunchBox build specifically for you guys. Imported a bunch of games. I did a stream last week, just a test stream where I built this up, and since then I've added a few more platforms, a few more games, so that the more the merrier when it comes to theming, so that you can see what it looks like amongst all the different types of games and box sizes and clear logos and all that good stuff. And So this is where the theme is located on my T drive. And let's just take a look at this folder for a second. You actually have, the way that themes are laid out is there'll be a folder. Here's LB themes. So this is where all of your LaunchBox themes would go. Here's one called the pause themes. This is where all your pause themes would go. Here's one called startup themes. Of course, that's where all startup themes go. And to finish off the naming standards, there's one just simply called themes. And that's where all your big box themes go. And Dragoon Demon, you use the flat and classic mini consoles. Yeah, that is also a good one. Another mini type horizontal scrolling theme. And as prototype, you started on the, a front end called Core R theme. And then you jumped over to LaunchBox to get more control over the collection. That is a quite a common story I hear, where people just want a little more easy control over their collection, and they jump to LaunchBox, and that's what we can provide. Core and CoinOps are good for pre-built. Yeah, that's another thing that I hear. But yeah, if you just want like control over your collection and what's inside, while making it super easy, LaunchBox is the way to go, for sure. I jumped into the themes folder. This is where all of your big box themes will go, and the way that big box looks for themes is they just look for any folder inside of here, and it just assumes that any folder inside of here is a theme and uses the name of the folder. So if I went to big box right now, I would see 4 folders, one called Critical Zone version 2 default, one called default, one called old default, and one called default left right difference. I think every single one of those has the name default in it. That is quite the coincidence there. And what you'll also see is documentation.pdf and a README file. Let's take a look at this README file here. This folder contains themes for Big Box. To create a new theme, simply copy the default folder and name the new folder what you would like your new theme to be called. Then make your changes to the files in the new theme folder and change Big Box to use the view in the Big Box general settings. Look, I don't even need to stream anymore. You guys know how to do it. Let's do something though. At ED 2091, you actually have a question, so that's good. If you do have any questions while I'm talking, please interrupt me, and and I will be more than happy to answer those questions for you. So your question is, does Big Box have the ability to display more than one video at a time, like 3 clear logos on screen, and in the middle, one is focused? You have a very specific theme in mind, don't you? Like the wall theme arcade type of idea. That's what you're thinking, right? And to answer your question is yes. But then I would ask you a question. Are you sure you want to do that? Are you sure you want to display many, many different things on the screen at the same time? You can have 3 different videos displayed at different times in different ways. You could do it. You could do it inside of the wheel. You could do it outside of the wheel, I'm pretty sure. But it would be quite... I wouldn't say it would be quite a difficult undertaking, but it would be quite difficult to maximize performance on something like that, if that makes sense. I guess your answer to the question is yes. Yes, I hope that helps. Let me start. Actually, before I start a new stream, what does a theme contain? A theme contains a bunch of folders and some files. What does each one do? Let's quickly go over it. Some of these folders are arbitrary. We created them for the big box theme, default theme, and you could just as easily rename them as long as you rename the reference that we put inside of the theme itself. But as far as the default theme goes, we've got the fonts folder, which feels self-explanatory. That's where you want your custom fonts to go. These fonts don't need to be installed on a user's PC. You can just place them here and reference them, and they will use them on anybody's computer. The images folder, this one is a little bit tricky to talk about. I mean, we use it for two different things. You can place your images in here, any theme-related images if you really like. The way that, and that's what we did here with the battery images, which that's interesting. I think, I don't even remember if we use these, to be honest. And the controller images, these can be swapped out in a custom theme. But what's important about why these are here, other than people with an Xbox controller would be able to view them, is the naming of them. These are the naming of these buttons that Microsoft will automatically assign. And so if you just swapped these out with the controller type that you use, it should just work for the most part. Then there's this platforms folder. What this folder will do is it will utilize whatever images that you have inside of here and prioritize them over the ones in the user's library. So this folder is used for theme developers to say, hey, you have a set of clear logos that you want to use, user. Well, I'm going to force you to use the ones that I want you to use, and I'm going to dump them into this clear logos folder. And you now need to use this clear logo that for this platform. Same with fan art and device and banner. So really what that does is it gives you control over if you had like a monochrome type of theme and you wanted a dark background and just like solid white colors, you can utilize a theme. You can drop a set of just white styled platform logos, and now your theme will always use those. And so that's the power of this section of the images folder. Now this plugins folder, if you are a plugin developer, and then on top of that you want to specialize in plugins, you can add functionality to your theme by dropping, by coding a plugin to do something specific and including it in your theme right here. Videos, basically exactly the same thing as the images folder, but for videos. So if you wanted someone to use a specific platform theme video, there was one theme that I created where I included a bunch of retro, really bad looking commercials for retro systems, and I placed them in here, forcing everyone to watch those videos when they use that theme. Maybe that's why nobody used that theme. And yeah, let's catch up on your questions here, guys, before I go too far here. Dartnat, you have a dev question. When you use 3D boxes of a CD case to browse games, okay, so you're using the jewel case. I'm guessing you're using the jewel case model. Then your FPS goes down. Okay, not so much a dev question here, but is there a way to remove the reflex? And I assume that you mean the shine that's on those cases. Well, that shine's not what's causing your problem, actually. it's not what's causing the performance hit. The performance hit is essentially because of the jewel case itself. The jewel case model, I kind of remember when we were developing that jewel case model, and we had two options. Maybe we should have done something a bit different, but we had the options of using one of the models that had very, very low polygon count. Right, to build this jewel case, the jewel case is like transparent. It's got transparency layers, and then they've got like little ridges on the top and the bottom. If you really take a look at the model that we chose, it's fairly detailed. At first, I think we chose the one that was fairly poorly optimized, like very low poly count. And it just sort of kind of looked like a box with some transparency. And I think we put in a beta or something. And of course, that's the first thing that people notice, right? Like, why is the CD jewel case look so terrible? It doesn't even look like a jewel case. It's just like a box, and it's got some like the images that we put inside of it. And we're like, well, we've got this other model that looks more like a jewel case. Let's try that. So we put it in to another beta. Everyone rejoiced, and looked much better, much like a jewel case. And I guess we left out people that have lower spec computers. So that model is what's causing your problem, and is what is kind of tanking your performance on your computer, unfortunately. And yeah, I guess doesn't really answer your question, but I guess to answer your question, you cannot remove the reflective sheen on the model. That sort of comes baked in to give it more presence. And hello, Lionheart, welcome in. I'm just going to catch up to you guys. Questions when you, by Bronzebrow, when you get to big box themes, some themes, like the City Hunter 2, bundle a DLL and fonts. Yes. Is there any reason why they do it that way? That was when the theme engine first came out, there was no way to use custom fonts. There was no custom font support. Or really looking back, I guess there was, but nobody knew about it. No one knew how to take advantage of it, or it's something like that. And so there was a developer, and I'm extremely sorry for forgetting the guy's name, who figured out how to do it through plugins, and created a tutorial to say, here everybody, here's how you can get custom fonts into your theme. And everybody sort of latched onto that, and it was basically create this, like, inject your fonts into a plugin, and then publish your plugin, and then include that DLL, and here's how you reference the fonts in your theme. And everybody just did that, I guess, including City Hunter 2, and that's how they got, at the time, the fancy fonts in that theme. And I hope that answers your questions. Is it better or worse than the way that you can do it now? I guess it's not really any better or worse performance-wise. It's more less. It doesn't provide as much flexibility for the theme developer, right? You're telling a theme developer, well, now you need to know how to build a plugin to change your themes, to change your fonts. And so now the new way is just like plop your font here and just sort of reference it with this line of code. Chocobone checking, will LaunchBox or Big Box recognize tank sticks? Haven't tried it yet. I'm pretty sure tank sticks are either a keyboard or a mouse or X input device. So I guess your answer is yes. Yes, it will, out of the box. And And Bronze Brow, yeah, you guys are seeing that issue with the jewel case because yeah. Now let's show you like 10 or 20 of them on screen at once. Like that's the problem, right? Uh, it's not so much displaying one of those jewel boxes, but let's put it into a list and have that list display 20 of those jewel cases at once, or 30, and let's just let you go. And some computers, yeah, they unfortunately can't keep up. And so if you have one of those computers, you're unlucky enough, you might need to use a different view for that platform. What would be the rationale for devs adding the ability to consolidate ROM collections? For the ability to have someone consolidate ROM collections, are you talking about the consolidation feature or the idea that you can just like combine ROMs? And RetroPython, there you are. Yeah, you use tank sticks on one of your setups. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that they're just either keyboard or X input. I don't have one, so I'm not 100% certain which one you would get if you bought one today. But both are fine, right? If Windows can read your joystick, we can too. And I guess uplinking your question, at any point does the team think that they will offer more scrapers for artwork? Large areas for your library are barren, forcing you to use multiple launchers. Probably. Maybe one day. We're not in a huge rush to do that. There is enough, I think, between the LaunchBox Games database, which is completely community run, and if you do find areas of your library that isn't importing properly, that's the wrong term, is not grabbing media for it because the game is, let's say, missing a media item, you can always add it, contribute, make it so that the LaunchBox Games database can support not just users like you, or not just you, but users like you in the future. But yeah, not out of the question. And okay, so Scotted Logan, Ward Logan, the feature to consolidate whole collections is it for transport, and can they still be accessed to play? Okay, so I feel like you're talking about, okay, if you're talking about this feature, this button here, I do not think that this has anything to do with what you think it does. I feel like this just combines games that are the same into one game entry. Correct me if I'm wrong. This might be what you're talking about. Change ROM folder path for selected games. If you're wanting to like move your ROMs into the LaunchBox folder to make it portable, and then use this feature to change the ROM path for all of the games that are selected, then yes, that's what that's for. Anyway, I guess we should get back to the theming stuff, guys. After that, hopefully I answered some of your questions to a point where that makes any sense. But yeah, can LaunchBox be portable? Yes, if that's sort of like the underlying thing of your question. Is that the feature to do so? No. Okay, so the last folder that we haven't looked at is the views folder. Now this views folder is essentially everything that is the code behind everything that you'll ever see on screen at any point inside of Big Box. And so if you're looking at something in Big Box and you go, I would want to change that item to be a little larger, you'd have to dive into here to find the file where that element resides and make the change in the code. So let's jump in. We actually have I guess 2 different project files within here that you can use to open up in Visual Studio. I do recommend Visual Studio. I think I have 2 copies. Do I? Yeah, so I have Visual Studio 2019. I think I'm going to use this one for the theming. And so, although I haven't... Okay. That work? It did. Kind of. All right. So here is Visual Studio. And the reason why I would use Visual Studio, it gives you a nice little solution explorer here where all of the files are that you would want to change. And the main thing is that they have something called IntelliSense or whatever they're calling it now. And that allows, it gives you sort of like the values that you can utilize. You don't have to guess what you're doing for a lot of the things inside of when you're editing a theme. Visual Studio will kind of help you there. You could just use a text editor, to be honest. You could just use Notepad++ or something like that. Open up one of these files. Doesn't matter which one. And there's all the code and you can make changes. But let's say I wanted to change this text trimming from character ellipsis to something else, and I would delete that. And now I don't know what I'm typing. Because Notepad++ doesn't know what those values inside of text trimming, the text trimming property would be. Visual Studio will know, and that's sort of the benefit of using that. Before I actually make any changes, let's jump into Big Box. Or the first thing that you'd want to do when you're making a theme is do what that README file said. You'll want to create a copy of the default theme, and sort of that's your starting base. From there you can do whatever you want with this new theme. So I'm gonna start that just right now. We're creating some sort of game discovery center theme. That is, so I'm gonna call it the game discovery center theme because I'm creative like that. And I guess I should talk about this documentation. Earlier I mentioned that theming is essentially baseline, a base of WPF. So I should scroll all the way top there. And that is true. For the most part, WPF is, if you knew that, you could basically theme Big Box. What this documentation does not do is teach you WPF. What this does do is fill in the rest of the gaps. It's basically like, hey, you know WPF, here's everything that we do specifically to help you build a Big Box theme. And it'll go through, I'm probably not going to go through these 40 pages today, but they'll talk about every single one of these views that you see inside of this folder. I guess I should go inside of my new views folder. It'll teach you what every single one of these are, and a little description like the cover flow games view.xaml is really the game images in full screen cover flow. The wall games view.xaml is the wall of games images, much like in LaunchBox. I can't remember if I wrote this out or not. It's been so long. And hey, Focusborg, welcome in. Glad you're in there. We tried to categorize each one. So here's your root game views. Here's your root filters or platform views. So platform specific views, marquee specific views, other root views. So I guess you call them secondary views, child views, views that are embedded inside of views. Let's try not to confuse, because it's actually not as complicated as reading a documentation would make it sound. Use this as more of a reference. Use it to be like, I've got this idea, I want this element, I want it to drop in like an image, let's say a box image of some kind. And so, yeah, of course I'm typing box and everything has box in there. So you go down here, you're like, oh, well, this image source active game, back image path, front image path, this will be the path to use for the selected game's front image. Done. You've got like the actual information that you need to paste this element in and have it display a front image of some kind. All right, but let's take a step back and let's look at what is a theme. What is a big box theme and what is it comprised of? So let's open up Big Box here. And I guess I'll just use the default theme as the example. But as this loads in, and before we talk about that there, all right. So let's take a look at a game view. I guess we can jump into this one and just sort of see what this theme comprises of. Really, there's not that many elements to a theme, if you think about it. You can really break it down into something as simple as there's a list of some kind, whether it lists out games or platforms or genres or whatever, doesn't matter. They're all just a list. And let me turn on my mouse for the sole purpose that I can point to stuff for you guys. So you've got a list here. We've displayed it here. And then you've got everything else, right? You've got like this element, images. It basically consists of images and text. Image, text. They're all like just an element, just drawn on the screen. Here's another screenshot, and that's basically it. And as the theme developer, you go, I want to put the wheel here or the list here, and then I want to have like an image here and some text here, and that's what being a theme dev is. And it's essentially that simple. And all you do inside of the actual theme files is just tell it where you want it to go. I want a list, and I want it to be displayed here. And I want an image of the game's box front, and I want it to go there. And so just on the flat surface, high level, that's all a theme is. And then you go, that's, now that you've positioned your front image and you've positioned your screenshot or whatever you want it to be here, and this text, you save out your file and you call it a day. The hard part is the design of it all, is the polish of it all. Okay, I placed all this stuff here, but it doesn't look quite right. My mind has this image. I kind of want it to do this or that. That's where all the time goes when you're building a theme. And but on the surface, that's essentially it. You just go view by view. Here's another view, and you just basically say the same thing. I want my list to go here, and I mean, this is just a copy of the other view, to be honest. But I guess I should make some mappings here so I can show you guys a few things. Oh, that was the wrong one. Well, let's go into guess I should clear that. But you can have different themes, can have different views. And so you basically have to, as a theme developer, create as many or as little views as possible. The default theme has a number of them to choose from, so you can get an idea of sort of the way that they work. But then there's also more than that as well that you can find in the files. But let's say you're in a cover flow. Well, now this is the cover flow theme, and then you're just like, I want the list to do this and to go here, and then I want these elements like this title and this image and these badges to just sort of go where they are, where you see them. Yeah, I think that's basically it. Now you know how to create a theme. Now, how does this all work inside of the actual Big Box and Visual Studio? Well, let's open this guy here, which I'm going to need to do it this fun way. We're going to open up that. The third piece to this whole theming puzzle is more of the dynamics. Is like, how do you get the theme to be more dynamic? How do you say something? How do you give it like some more logic? Right? Let's say let's use this theme as an example. Look, this has like a background image on the selected item, but all of these other ones have gray images. How could I do that if all I'm saying is place the background here inside of this sort of rectangle? Well, there's something called triggers, and in triggers it's a WPF feature, so if you know WPF you would know that, but all triggers is a way to make themes more dynamic. And in this very specific use case, you can basically say, if this item or if this background image is the selected game, make it visible. Right? So, and that's if a game has a background image, which you can see not all of them do. Here, this platform does. So if this platform has a background image, make it visible if that platform is the selected one. And that's what triggers sort of give you that power. It's that extra layer of polish, basically, I was referring to. And Dartnat, it's good to see others using WPF too. You were afraid nobody was using it anymore. Yeah, it is unfortunately one of those dying breeds. And Andre, welcome in. Hope you're doing well. Trigger 911, you love to show polish. Polish is the hardest part of a theme. It is literally the thing, like if a theme takes you 1 day to create, it's going to take you like 29 other days to get the polish right throughout that theme. To just go through it. And, a lot of people don't have that patience. But that's what separates a good theme from a not so good theme. Oh, and Lionheart, yeah, hard to find spine images. Yeah, hear ya. When we introduced the 3D model and knew we had to have spine images, we had to look. Well, does any of them exist? Are we creating a feature that no one can use because none of the images exist? But we found enough of one side of a spine to make the feature usable. So, but yeah, we 100% knew that it would take a long time for all hundreds of thousands of games to get a spine. Some of them don't even exist. Some of them were lost through time, and just even if they all did exist, it would still take forever for people to populate them up. Polish is why your arcade only platform theme is only on your cab, right? Yeah, I created a theme just for my cabinet, and knowing that I needed something very specific with very specific needs, with very specific images, and I did release it to the public, and that one is the one called CoinOp, and it turned out pretty good for what I needed it for. All right. So, in saying that, hopefully that makes you understand sort of what the different elements are inside of a theme. If we break it down to just a list of some kind and text and image elements of some kind. Well, now, late last year, we were tasked with creating this Discovery Center. And so why is the Discovery Center different than any other view? And literally, the one difference is that it is no longer a list of games that can be displayed, but it is a list of lists where each list can display a list of games. I'm going to say list a whole lot here in this description. Each list can display its own list of games, but then we also have the added complexity that there's multiple lists, and we also need to list the lists. And so you can see as I scroll down, each now item is now no longer one item. It is another list of games. And, when you're kind of conceptualizing it, well, we live in this world where each view only has one list. And, but now we need, basically, in an ideal world, an infinite amount of lists that will automatically, dynamically generate for the user every single time that they go to this view and display them all. So that if you just press down, it would keep generating more and more lists, and then more lists, and then more lists. And but then I also want each list to have a list of games. How would that work in a theming environment? And so I was very adamant that we not only wanted to create this, like first we wanted to make sure, is that a thing that actually you can do? And then once we figured out, I guess we can do it. Christian, who's the one that built it all up, really did a great job of, we planned it out and had like a proof of concept, and we're like, this could actually work. And then we really was adamant that like, okay, anything that we do here, let's make sure that it's completely and 100% themable if anybody wants to pick it up and make something that's not this. They can create their own thing. And so let's take a look at how this works from I guess I'm just going to use, what's the best way to show this? So let's go into the Game Discovery Center now. Let's use basic Notepad, because everybody loves Notepad. How does a theme get laid out properly? So normally a theme kind of, not 100% sure. I'm going to dumb this down a little bit, but you got this top section. You got this top section of lots of styles. All of your style stuff can fit up here. And then you kind of have this, the body of it. This is where like your wheel will go, list, and your items, and you lay it all out. And that's basically it. That's a theme. And instead, what we had to do was kind of say, that this wheel is now actually I should say it like this. This wheel is now a list of lists. And inside of that, we list the list of games. And then we also have other items on the screen. And so that's essentially the difference between a regular theme and this type of theme. Well, how do we do that? What you're basically going to see me do is show off that inside of this list of styles here that I've created, we're going to have a number of templates. So template like 1, a list can look like this template. And then I can say like template 2, and I can have template 3, and all these templates represent a different look that could be applied to any number of game lists. And so I could basically sit here and say, okay, I want continue playing. I want to have template 2, but if it's a MAME high score list, I want that to take template 3, and so forth, right? If it's a retro achievement list, I want it to have template 3 as well, but then everything else, whatever, I want my default to be template 1. Think of it sort of like that. And I think that's it. That's how the entire sort of concept of a game discovery center works in this one view. And you could see how it adds a level of complexity. Sure. Sure, if you're not using a full screen Twitch, here is sort of how it works in layman's terms, if that makes sense. And Cyberbyte, you think that there is a good chunk of people. There might be that who would like the Game Discovery Center to be integrated into the various theme styles already out there. And by that, I assume that you mean different custom themes. And yeah, I mean, that's what we're doing here, right? We are showing all of those theme devs out there that, yes, you can theme the Game Discovery Center. And please, please look into it. And if you have any questions about it after the fact, any of you themed devs, because, hey, Cyberbyte wants more variation in the into the Game Discovery Center, reach out to me, and so that we can please Cyberbyte and people like them. They'll be very happy if more Game Discovery Center themes come out. In saying that, let's take a look. If you're wanting to create a game discovery theme, look for, inside of the Views folder, a file called discoverypageview.xaml. Here you go. And this is literally the one view that houses this. So let's take a look. Was I right? So I said that there's this style section that has all of these template things, and then there's a body section that will list the list of lists, as well as the different kinds of lists that then you can apply templates into. And then, of course, surrounding all of this, add other items, images, whatever you want on the screen. Let's take a look. Where is all of that stuff on here? You've got all of this stuff I'm going to ignore right now, which are the converters and things that can make things more dynamic. That we have a big list of that. But look, at the top here, we've got a user control resource section. And the first thing that you see, ignoring all this, is called the default template. And if I just sort of, there's a whole bunch of stuff here, but I'm going to collapse that down so that we can visually see that here's one template. And now we've got a platform template. Here's template number 2. We've got a top bar template, template number 3, a recently played template, template number 4, a tall template, template number 5. So the default theme, I created 5 separate templates right off the bat at the top here. And if we just look here, let's take a look, okay? Here's the top template, which is essentially a ginormous template with a few different, actually 2 different lists in here that scrolls to the side, just like that, where you only see one item at a time. And that's the point of that template. But then now you've got this sort of recently added continue playing template where the boxes are more like 4x3, and you've got this text and this the background image and that sort of thing. Then you've got this template, which is more like a platform template. Looks a little different here. And then as you scroll down, you've got the high scores template, which is like the tall template is what it's called, I believe. And that takes up more of the screen. And, you know, that's sort of how you think of things inside of your head as far as a theme developer, is that, hey, I've got all these templates and I've applied these templates. So let's say this tall template to, let's bring up our trusty notepad. Let's say I've taken template tall and I've now said, this is now template tall, MAME, when you see MAME high scores. And that's how this actually works, is there's a template called the tall template, and then in this body, so this is now the body, and you can see once I collapse the body, the file ends. Everything's inside of here. Here's some animations, the stuff that makes the theme more dynamic. You can add as many or as little as that, but probably don't have time to go too much into the animation engine today. But let's take a look. Let's take a look at the body so that we can kind of understand. We can ignore a lot of this. Let me zoom in. I'm going to get to the point though where I can't really see what I'm doing because everything's so giant. Okay, so for now, let's ignore anything that says triggers because I said that is the sort of last step that you would do. So if you ignore that, what does this view actually really have in here? We've got an item called blurred background image. So here's a background image that, I guess based on the name, is going to be blurred. You've got, and then you jump right in. Oh, you've got the list. So here's your list of lists that we're, I guess, calling discovery lists. And inside of here, we call it flow discovery page list. And ignoring this, we can jump down and see that, oh, there's a section for templates. And we can basically say that yeah, look at all this. We're basically saying here, okay, if the list type is called recently played, so if it's the recently played list, use the recently played template. Same here. If the list type is called the MAME high scores, use the tall template that we saw up here, way up here, tall. And so here's your template of templates. Here's your list of lists. Here's your list of games, of templates. And then down here is your list, is your game lists. This is really your list of lists, which is under this part that's called the discovery page list content list. In here, the way that it works and the way that theme developers work is, yeah, let's discuss this. We give theme developers the ability to say, to create your own lists if you wanted to. And at the top, you can organize them and display them any way that you want, or not display them at all. For example, this one is sort of a highly recommended games list. The next one is a continue playing list. The next one is a recently added list, and it keeps going. Then the platforms, then your favorite games, then compete for high scores. Well, yeah, like lists of lists of lists of lists. You can imagine me sitting here creating this last year. To wrap your head around it was something, and then doing something about it is something else, right? Focusborg. Here you can see that I just said that the first list is the highly rated list. The second list was recently played, then recently added. You can see that this list is a little different than the others, but that's okay. Then there was the platform lists, the favorite lists, and MAME high scores list, and then that's it. It ends. Well, then how about all this other stuff that came after it? Look at all this. Explore the 70s, explore the 80s. Mario makes an appearance. Hidden gems. Explore the 10th. Where are all these lists? Well, you could just keep scrolling down, right? And if I hold it down, it will not stop until it runs out, literally runs out of lists to create. That's how crazy this is. There's too many lists that it could be creating that it can't keep up with my scrolling, even though we tried to slow it down a bit. The reason is because after the theme lists are displayed, which means after right here, MAME high scores, everything else after this is automatically generated by Big Box with all of this dynamic, cool logic that we put in to basically say, here's a whole bunch of cool lists. I can't remember how many. There's just quite a few that it can create if your library has any games for it. I think the minimum is like 5 games. If you have at least 5 games for most lists, that's not the same for everyone now, then it will create something. I think I typed this in incorrectly. And you can imagine that that's something that you kind of want, or else you could be creating a game discovery center that literally has nothing for a user. User comes in and you like created these lists that user in particular has no games for, and that user just sees a view of nothing because your lists weren't generic enough. So we really had to think of, what are these lists? How can we generalize these lists so that the maximum amount of people would be able to see something on them based on the games that you have in your specific library, but make them interesting enough that people are going to want to use this feature. And so as a theme developer, I would keep that in mind when you're building, if you've decided to build your lists. And hey MP Bacchini, I hope you're doing well. Hopefully I didn't butcher your name there. Yeah, keep that in mind as a theme developer. Don't create a list of games, even though you can, that's like 10 games that you particularly like, because the chances that list now displays on somebody else's computer is limited to the fact that they must have those games in their library to see that list. If they don't, the system's designed to collapse that list and not display it for the user, because you can't display a list of games that you don't have in your library. And so, in saying that, as I guess that was a disclaimer to theme developers, we have particular types of lists that you can create inside of your lists. You've got ones that are hard-coded into the system. They will display like this. And you can see that it's called, this one's particularly called highly rated, not because I think you can change that name. If that is tied, this is a static resource, which is tied to something way up here. Probably inside of here. Here it is. This is how we called the lists, and to begin with, you don't have to if you use this. Here's, I think, all of the different lists, and we've given them these arbitrary names to help you figure them out. We've hard-coded a favorites list, a highly rated list, a recently played, the MAME high scores, and platforms list. And so these are ones you can add, remove. I mean, you can keep them in the resources and just remove them from this list. So let's take a look. What does that look like? Maybe I don't want to see my favorites. And maybe I don't want the platforms to be there. Remove those. How's that look? Save it out. Let's first switch to my new theme. And let's see what that looks like. So as I scroll down, I'm realizing that now that I don't have those lists listed there, that it was expecting something. So maybe I do have to, or was it that I clicked more than one button actually? Yeah, I did. Never mind. I pressed enter. There we go. Okay. Back into the Game Discovery Center. All right, no error. Look at that. I broke it. Yeah. I pressed spacebar and broke LaunchBox. So now I just deleted the platforms. You don't even see the platforms in here. I like eliminated it from it. This theme in particular, I eliminated the favorites from this one in particular. You don't need to have these lists to be there if you don't want them to be there, and you can have them look like anything that you want, really. Anyway, if anybody has any questions, let me know. If not, I will keep going, and I'll try to cover, because we're about to get to that point in this stream where I'm going to be looking at a lot of text for a very long time. In a little bit of an absurdly large size so that you guys could see it. All right, so we've covered how this particular file is laid out, why it's laid out in this fashion, and let's make and these themes. These lists. The second type of list is this one that you have a little more control over. And what this list is essentially a auto-populate playlist list. And you can see from here, okay, I gave it a title. I've given it a way that I want it to be sorted by date added. I said I want the maximum amount of items that you display in it to be 25. I want the minimum amount of items that needs to be in this list to be 5, or else don't show it. And then here is the criteria. I want to use the field date added, the comparison type of recent days, and the value of the last 360 days. And hello, welcome into the chat. Is this WPF? Yes, it is. It is WPF. That's what we use in Big Box and LaunchBox theming. And so that's what it is. If I went right now into, let's do that. If I go into, if you've ever created an auto-populate playlist, this is literally just a text version of that. And so therefore, what you can do is you can add more than one criteria. You can see over top of this, once this goes away, that we're basically saying, hey, in this list out all of the criteria. Here is criteria number 1. If, like, sort it by date added and list all of the games that you've added in the last year. And I could literally just copy this and say, okay, criteria number 2. You know, maybe make it your favorite. Right? And how do you know what the names and stuff are supposed to be in here? Well, let's try to create an auto-populate playlist. Here it is right here. Many people will know what this looks like. Let's take a look. Look at all of these options that you have the capability to use. It's quite a lot. Here's the date added one. So the date added in recent days, 360. That's literally the what we did over there. The second one, let's say you wanted to display your favorite games is true. And you'd be like, your favorite? I feel like its value is true, but since it's in comparison, I'm going to guess that it's the comparison that is true and no value. And so now what this is basically saying is list games that were added in the last year that's also your favorite. And I don't think I have any favorite games. No, I do. I do have favorite games in this build. There, so now my recently added games will only show me games that are my favorite and have been added in the last year. And if I wanted to really, I can say, actually, if you wanted a cheat sheet, I'm pretty sure I created one, mostly for myself, because I knew it would be quite a while in between what I do, in between creating one of these themes. So here over on the forums, if anybody wants to bookmark this, and I'll get to your comments here. Said, wow, wonderful. You usually used Windows desktop application mode because WPF is difficult. Well, both LaunchBox and BigBox were made with WPF, and I don't blame you. It is difficult, but once you get used to WPF and its quirks, it's something that you can learn, just like anything else. And Focusborg, you're saying that this covers how to make custom and cool lists, or say it like themes. What you're really asking for is new functionality where LaunchBox would launch a random game without giving you a list. Like tell it something like racing game SNES, something you never played before, and it goes and launches a surprise game. That is a cool feature. That would be a plugin. Like yesterday, Josh could have made one of those. However, what you're actually looking for, I'm trying to think, is kind of possible. Now, what I can't remember. So in the default theme, you'll notice that there is something called a random game. And if you click that, it will play a random game. Now, because I'm in this particular TurboGrafx 16 section, if I click this random game button, it's going to play a random TurboGrafx 16 game. In this case, it chose Power Golf, the best of the Nintendo TurboGrafx 16 games. Probably because of this intro. I think I found it. I think I found the worst game with the best music. That was probably not even that bad of a game, is it? Anyway, so that's what that does. Now, if you're like, I just want like a racing game, I don't think this works, to be honest. If I say, well, okay, here's 4 racing games, I'm pretty sure if I click this random game, it will still just pick a random game. Oh no, it chose a racing game. That's interesting. Hey, maybe that's what you would want. Let's try again. Oh, okay, so yeah, we have what you want already inside of LaunchBox. There you go. Let's try something else. I want to play an adventure game. there's only two options, but yeah, chose the first one. So there you go. I'm glad we could solve that for you. And DC Castelli, you never used the filter that way. Hey, there you go. Everything's sort of in LaunchBox, and hey, I don't even remember this. It's kind of interconnected. Yeah, and just to be clear, I did not know that would work, but I'm really glad it does for you, Focusborg. Yeah, that's funny. But everything's sort of interconnected. Like, this filter button isn't a generic filter button. It is very specific to the section that you're in, and auto-populates and generates as you're navigating through your categories and platforms here. It's never going to display something to you that doesn't have a game attached to it, if that makes sense. Yeah, Mr. Nibble, glad you spent more time on the Huff and Puff plugin. Didn't need to create this one because it exists. Focusborg, you picked the Huff and Puff name, eh? That's so funny. So yeah, this is a very more dynamic than you would kind of think, right? If a max player option exists, it means a game in this section has one. And if a section doesn't have something particular, like controllers, you're not seeing a controller section. But if I go to arcade, now it's going to analyze all the games here, and when I click that button, it's going to show me a whole bunch of new filters, including MAME high scores suddenly appears, controller support suddenly appears, and now we know that all of this stuff attaches to that random game button. Which, by the way, any theme could utilize if you're a theme developer and you wanted to add a random game button. It's right there. And is this service only US version ROMs? It is game agnostic. Yeah. You import your own games, whatever region they are, and the tools and functionality throughout this application will work for you. And Japanese, I'm pretty sure we've got Japanese language that I don't know if it's being maintained right now. I can't 100% remember. And to be honest, I wouldn't be able to pick it out in this list. But if you can see it here, I'm pretty sure one of these is Japanese. And you can change it. And based off of that, I'm going to assume it's one of these ones. I think it's this one. This one looks Korean to me. I could be wrong. And Sir Gonads, thank you so much for being a LaunchBox fan, and thank you so much for your name. All right, so now that we got that very important random game thing piece out of the way, let's go back to theming. I think we're at the point, and anybody here that has been somewhat following along and has any questions, let me know. Don't know if you're still there, Rincewind, but if you have any questions, let me know here. So now we figured out a couple things with this view. We figured out, one, we know and understand why certain lists have a different look than another list through the templates that we have listed at the top. Two, we know where some of these lists comes from, and we know how you can create your own. And number three, we kind of know that there are elements here. For example, up here, these are just elements that we've added. The title, the the clear logo, this stuff here, this background image, this text is just items that we've placed on the list. And we use triggers, the polish here, to basically say, see, this stuff exists, but if I go up, it no longer exists and gets replaced by this ginormous template. And that's done with triggers. If you remember correctly, that I said, I don't know how long ago, where I said a trigger could be like, hey, this clear logo right here, if the list is called highly rated games, make that clear logo disappear because it has its own clear logo inside of this template. And so that's sort of what's happening there. And that's, I guess, basically it. Let's jump into, let's focus on one thing. Let's make it this as easy as possible on me, because it's been, I don't know, say 8 months since I've developed one of these themes. All right, Rincewind, you're still here. Any questions? Now that I messed with this stuff here, and oh, this is going to be really tough. I'm realizing because of the ginormous text, but not yet. I hope that means I'm doing a good job here. Let's mess with the top bar. The top bar is all of the stuff inside of here, this top list, and we're going to make a change to it. Why don't we make a change where all of the items are inside of a border of some kind? How about that? It's probably not exactly what I want now that I come to think about it, but yeah, let's run with it. So let's say I'm seeing some margins and stuff. I probably added that for a reason. So I'm going to leave all of that, and I'm going to, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to just make a copy of all this stuff so that I have it, so that I can mess around with this as best I can. All right, here we go. Without needing any of this in here. Ooh, I'm at the bottom here now. Okay. So I don't need you anymore. Goodbye. What would that do if I just deleted everything from the top bar template? Let's find out. Ooh, yeah, that's fun. It's still there. You can still see the background, and there's a list that exists that has nothing inside of it. And because it has nothing inside of it, nothing is happening. But hey, invisible list, maybe that could be a secret thing that you add to your theme. Be like, no, the list does exist. That displays exactly the games that you want. I just made it invisible. All right, let's create something now. We're going to create a border. And that border is going to have, let's say, a border color of, I guess, white. Try to be as English as I can here. And then I'm going to have a border thickness of maybe 5. We'll see what that looks like. Yeah, people don't know. The 100% Sir Gonads, you know, and it is okay with your troll name. Rincewind is an amazing developer of both LaunchBox and Big Box fame. And so there's quite a possibility that if you're using a big box theme, that you have used one of his themes. So I've got a border. The border is white. No, the border around it is white, and it's 5 thickness. And is there anything else that I need to do with this thing? I probably need to add a margin to make this as simple as possible for users. I'm just going to put 25 around it. Okay, so now I should have something in there that looks like nothing. Come on. Oops. Let's see, what did I do? Yeah, I added a line. There you go. A white line with nothing in it. So therefore it compresses down to nothing. Just so that I can see that it's there and it's doing something that I kind of want. Let's add a corner radius of 25. So this will make the corners, all 4 corners, circular. And I'll just put a generic height right now for 500, just to give me an idea of what that would look like. Thank you. My first thing that I created, a white line. There you go. Look at that. It's something. It's definitely something. Let's push it down a little bit more. Well, maybe I don't need to push it down. Maybe I like that location, but maybe I want it to be larger than 500. Maybe I wanted it to be 800. Let's take a look at what that looks like. Oh yeah, yeah, and now that I have something inside of this template, and the one thing that I realized in my head, oh crap, this is what's going to happen. Every time that I click, look at that. Actually, I don't have a wheel, so nothing's happening. Except apparently it chose, based on that blurry background, a Double Dragon game. There you go. That's a highly rated game. But yeah, I think I like that. I think I like. Right? You don't need to restart Big Box with every change. You only need to refresh the view. And you can see here with the games database, I'm refreshing the view. The games database, by the Games Discovery Center, I'm refreshing the view by just going back to the Game Discovery Center. If you were in a platform view, you only need to refresh the view by clicking your switch view button and pressing enter, and that will refresh the view and you can see all the changes that you've made. But so far so good, I guess. I've created a border and it's got no hard edges on there, so we can't hurt ourselves on it. And I think I'm just going to put a little bit of a background. Or maybe not. Let's add the actual wheel back to it. Something that I did not mention is that inside of this template, you need to add your list of games inside of it. And so let me go to my list here and find it from this mess. Top bar, where's my list? Here it is. Do I dare type it all out? Maybe I should type it all out. Now there's 2 different kinds of lists I'm going to mention. This might, not sure how confusing this will be. There's 2 kinds of lists that you can add into your template, and you can add both lists into one template if you want. Which is exactly what this theme has right here. The flow control is list number 1, and it in of itself has its own data template in it. That's like Inception, right? A template within a template within a template. How far can we go? That is one long template. Okay, so that's one. That is one type of list. The second type of list is just generically a list view. So it is just like a text list, basically. And the reason why I had it here is I had it for those little dots that you saw on the screen that you see in the top view that denote how many items there are and which item that you're on. I've used this list just for that, but you can use this list view to display anything that you want, any image, any metadata, and it'll act like a text list acts if it was horizontal. And so which one do I need? I think that I'm going to use this wheel. I went too far. Here it is. Flow control. All right, so I've made it too big. All right, let's get rid of this guy. That will make it look a little easier in here, I think. All right, what did I do? And let's get rid of you, because you are overcomplicating things. Let's get rid of you guys. So what this does is this will change certain properties through a trigger based on the user's screen size, or sorry, screen aspect ratio. So if they're on an ultra wide monitor, I can be like, hey, I'm fixing the theme to work on an ultra wide monitor. If you're on a full frame landscape monitor, which is essentially just a CRT screen, then I will fix these properties for you to make the theme work. There. If you didn't know that, Rincewind, now you do. Let's get rid of those because I don't know anything about that yet. Don't need this whole trigger section. And we can ignore this section for now. I'll probably have to edit some of those things. But now we have a wheel and we have nothing in it. How's that going to look? Let's put a background so we understand of red, of where that's going to go. The background is invisible because there's nothing in it. I guess I should have set a size, shouldn't I? Oh, there is a size of 1,000. I don't need any of this. And I wonder if I'm going to need to help display it. Because that's a fairly close item. Or maybe I can have oops, I just put height again. A width and a height of this item, this grid. There you go. Now we have items, and those items are a red square. Which game do you want to play? You want to play this red square or this red square or this red square? We can play any red squares you want. But that tells me that it works. I can see it. And, I give you 25 red squares to play around with. Since, remember, we denoted how many items that is going to be in this. Actually, maybe we didn't for this. And Sir Gonad, chill scream. I'm glad you're liking it. It's like listening to ASMR. Yeah, that's like yesterday's stream, blowing into the microphone. I wish Josh just blew into the microphone. It would just be an ASMR blowing into a cartridge stream. And Red Square Redemption, that's right. But all this proves to me is that, hey, we've got a list inside of this list, and I don't have to mess with that anymore. But the one thing that I do want to do is probably put a background inside of this whole thing right here. So we're going to put a background inside of this whole thing and make that background the actual game. Actually, I don't need to do that for inside of the wheel. I will do that outside of the wheel, right here. And for that, I'll just do a flow image. Flow image. I think that's a thing. And the image type, let's stretch to uniform to fill. Uniform to fill will fill the available space with the image and crop the image to make it fit properly. Image type, let's go with, this is where I can show you guys why this documentation is useful. I can search for flow image inside of this documentation, and I can get this. Hey, go away. This is all of the properties that this flow image type has. The reason I'm using flow image because it's got a heck of a lot of benefits to using a flow image for people that are used to, and they might be using like just a regular image tag. It's a very specific custom style image just for LaunchBox and BigBox. And so it's got a lot of cool properties associated with it that images just don't have. A lot of them we don't need to use. The one that I'm very particularly looking forward to looking at is one that is right here. So image type. So yes, this is the image group you are attempting to load an image from. Here are the possible values. It's backgrounds, clear logos, fan art, banner, devices. And here's all the ones for games. And yeah, there's a lot there. And of course, as of LaunchBox 12.14, which at this point is an eternity ago, you can also, instead of using image groups like these, you can use image types. And yeah, what is the difference between an image group and an image type? An image group is a group set of image types that the user controls. Right? So in the user's options, they can go to like the box front priorities group, and they can literally check what is going to go inside of that box front priority group. And so if I used, for example, this boxes group, I'm basically saying, hey user, you determine what you want to see in here. By default, it'll be the box with a bunch of box fallbacks. But you know, you've got that control. But if you're a theme developer, you're like, I don't want the user to have control. I want the control on what they're going to see. Well, as of 12.14, you can just choose, I only want them to display this image type or this image type, with knowing that by reducing to only that one image type, you've basically said to the user, hey, you don't use that image type? Well, there's going to be nothing that displays there for that game then. Sorry. Games 3ND. Yeah, you came back to the Soviet red theme. Yeah, we're getting there. We will replace that red out. Okay, so in this case, what do I want? I want backgrounds, of course. That's what I think I said. And so there we go. What does that look like? Let's find out. It looks like a crash, and instantly I know what I did wrong, so, which is good. But okay, so what is it saying? It's saying, and something that I should have known, borders. So, oh, look at that, wonderful. Thank you, WPF. See, this is why WPF is great, because it likes to inform you when you made a mistake by providing you 30 different windows telling you that you made a mistake. Okay, so what was the mistake that I made? This border, this is just a WPF limitation, but borders are like containers, right? You can put stuff inside of them. And there's a number of containers in WPF. There's borders and grids and stack panels and all sorts of stuff, and they all have different things and reasons why you use them. I chose border because I wanted basically a border, a white border item that I couldn't hurt myself on the corners, and that's it. That's what I wanted. And border allows me to do that. The problem is that borders only allow you to have one item in it at a time. And I added two. And WPF said, no. You knew that you're only allowed to have one item in here. And you added two. So I'm going to let you know about that. How do you get around that? Well, I'm going to just add a grid, which does not have that limitation inside of that border. Now, the border only sees that there's one item in it, and that item's a grid, and that grid is now housing both of my cool items, one being the red square and the other being the background. All right, now that we've taken care of that, let's see if what I just said was not all bull. Yeah. I see no background. Oh, there. No. The good news is that we're not crashing. Right? You could change it to a grid, but why change it to a grid? I want the border to be there so we can, you can put containers inside of containers inside of containers if you wanted to. Nothing wrong with that. Yes, I know why it did not work. This flow image needs to understand what exactly the image type that it wants to pull, since it's not inside of this flow control, which that was the point of this this element to begin with. And I'm gonna guess here, so I might crash again. Data context is equal to binding active game. And so that's basically me saying, okay, which image are you displaying in there? I want to display the active games background image. Yeah, I forgot that step. Cross my fingers. I still don't see anything. So this is how long it's been since I've done this. Let's go into flow image. And we are looking at all of this cool stuff that I created a very long time ago. And I'm pretty sure I got to go all the way down here to somewhere here. No, we're still in the not good part. Okay, there we go. Now I can do that. There you go. not an active game. What am I talking about here? In this view, it's an active item. There you go. Still nothing, but and super fun guy, you are late again. That's okay. Thank you for joining. You really enjoyed this week's videos. You've learned a lot. I'm hoping especially on those first 2 streams where there's lots to go over. And to be honest, Andy, if people are enjoying it, Andy can bring it even further and teach you guys about all the little things that are inside of LaunchBox. Okay, what am I missing here? Let's find out. Maybe you needed these? I don't think so. Or it could be as simple as that I put backgrounds instead of background. I've done that before. Got to make sure it has a background before anything else. Yeah, let's try that. But hey, that could be a thing too. Just random games. We'll just nerd out. Why not? Well, that's a fun one. Can't even get the first image to display. We would reluctantly end those streams, right? We'd just be talking about games for hours, and we'd be like, hey, maybe we should and we'd be playing. Like, tomorrow's going to be a lot like that. So definitely come tomorrow, where all we're going to do is talk about games, talk about LaunchBox, talk about play some games. We'll actually do something pretty fun. We're going to be it'll be a little bit of like a competition. Myself and Josh, we're going to play some games. We'll give you guys the choice. Which game should we play? We're going to be playing them together. And we're going to be picking a winner. And Bronzebrow, yes. Yeah, you can hot reload just by reloading the view after you save the file. And just so that I'm not messing with it, I think I know why it's not working. I don't think I can do anything about it. If I'm honest here. And so I might change tactics. All right, let's change tactics. We are going to put this inside of the wheel, and this should work. Right here. And now, for any game that doesn't have... There you go. For any game that has a background, you will see that background in this. But this game doesn't have background. There you go. Yeah, we could use the random function to pick a game. And maybe we'll do that a few times. And Sir Gonads, thanks for coming. Wow, 3 a.m. That that is pretty late, so I hope you have a good sleep. And Bronze Brow, yeah, WPF is a headache. You're going to struggle with it, but you get through it, and there's usually a logical reason why something may or may not work. And to be honest, now that I'm thinking about it, I don't even know if I tested the scenario that I'm trying to do. Yeah, I might not have, thinking back on it. Anyway, so we got something that looks pretty good. Let's change the height and width so that it's going to fill whatever I got here. I don't even know what this border that I have is. Height, I'm just going to make a nice guess of like 100 by width 400, something like very wide. And that looks too much, so I'm gonna go with 350. So let's go down to 50 and 300. And 250. Messing around with some numbers. Okay. And now what we're going to do is change the camera position on that item. We're getting there. I don't know why it looks, it does kind of look pretty bad. So let's keep messing with these numbers and try to get hey, we're getting there. We're definitely getting there. It's probably like 120, and then I probably have to do a little bit more. Let's go with the number 2. Number 2 kind of looks nice, right? Look at that. Almost perfect. Right? And Pishbot, LaunchBox looking sweet. Thank you so much. And definitely this big box view is looking slightly different than before, at least for this top header so far. And it's weird hearing the default navigation sounds. Yeah, I always change them as well, especially in my main build. And Gauthami123, you gotta work, but at the same time you want to watch stream. That is one of the battles, right? So, how do you get this image to also have... Actually, I think that's harder than it sounds, to be honest. To also have the corner radius. Man, it's been a while, but I do remember that's a hard one to solve. It sounds like it shouldn't be, but it's a hard one to solve. You would think that you could just go in here and set up a clip to bounds rule, which, hey, I already did. That doesn't work. What I'm kind of remembering that I have to do is set an opacity mask inside of this grid of a border of this size. And the chances of me getting that right are almost 0. it would be something like this. Visual brush, border, height and width of 120 with a corner radius of whatever I had before. Let's see if I broke. I did. Yeah, I missed something. But that's actually, I've done it before. So one thing that I really like to do is go into the themes that I've done it before in, hence the default theme. And find the spot that I did it in. Actually, I did it in a number of themes. But you know, you stop working on something for like 8 months and look at that. Almost got it right. Yeah, I can use that. I forgot the visual brush.visual piece. And we'll set the same height and width as we had before. Let's give that a shot. An offliner. You're gonna lurk and enjoy the stream. Well, I hope you enjoy me fumbling around with Big Box and and Faeran. Are all the streams videos going to be posted on YouTube? Yes, they will. So for anybody that finds usefulness out of the streams, they will. In saying that, and yeah, I think 25. First, it worked. As people can see, I do feel like 25 corner radius is a little bit much. I don't know. And I understand why it was too much. Because the whole height is 50. I basically did half of the whole image and created a giant pill looking thing. It's so funny. Okay, so before I forget, for anybody still wanting to be part of the giveaway and hasn't grabbed a secret key for the last 3 days, here's your 4th chance to get a secret key. I am going to display it, or a secret code. I'm going to display it on the screen now, I think. It's somewhere. I think it's right here. No, right here. Somewhere here. And I'm sure we're all gamers here, and that all week, all the secret codes have been some kind of cheat code or famous cheat code of some kind. This is no different, and this might be one of the most famous ones of them all. There you go. So whoever needs that, I'm just going to keep that right there for the rest of the stream as I struggle making this top view. Okay, so knowing that this is like way too much, let's go with 2 and see what I get here. Yeah, 2 is too little, but at least it proves that I'm doing something. All right, saving it. Oops. There we go. Look at that. I think we have a winner. Maybe not perfect. No, it is definitely not perfect. I think I'm going to go down to 3.5 and see what we got. That is very awkward. I think I know how to solve it, but okay, let's go down to 3. And the grand finale, welcome in. Glad you can join as I struggle through building this this theme. Look at the red text is still there, which is funny. Well, kind of works. One thing that I might be able to do is apply this visual brush, instead of it being applied here, apply it to here. Be something like this. And then remove it from here. I mean, I'm saying it like it's going to work, but I don't really know. Oh yeah, that. Beautiful. Beautiful. It's gone. I know why it's gone, actually. I didn't set... you have to set a width and a height. And I only set a height. There might be a way to set the width to the border. I have very big reservations for that, though. And I'm also seeing another problem with this. So even if I said, hey, the name is border, and set the width to element name equals border. Why am I feeling like I'm missing something there? I am missing something. That's why I feel that way. Path actual width. All right, it's coming back to me. It's coming back to me. Look, there you go. Other than the fact that, like, oh no, it's working. But it's doing what I thought that it would do, which is, I mean, it's taking on the property, the opacity mask of the full border, which was, granted, a mistake. I should have realized that. And in reality, I should have put it here with like a margin of 5. Here, we're jumping this opacity mask around until it works. We're almost there. Actually, why don't I just do the same thing with the grid? I don't need a name there. I need a name here, and we're going to call it grid. And we're going to say I want you to be the height of the grid's actual height. I got reservations about this too. Look at that. It's actually working. I did not need a margin, did I? Did we do it? I think we did it. For the most part. I think the reason why it's still showing these sort of like black tiny, it's like the tiniest little, you can see on here, like black is, and I'm guessing it's because of two different things: snap to pixels, and there's a round layer thing of what is very, very disheartening. Is, remember at the beginning of this I said I use Visual Studio because it will display the it'll display the values. Well, it's not displaying the values. And I really need that right now. So we're going to go into here and I'm going to see if Visual Studio 2022 is going to agree with me today. But I even did it. We fought the good fight. We figured it out. All to have rounded corners. All right, where is the discovery? But I mean, we figured it out, so it's worth it. All right, we're in. I'm hoping the right file. Yeah, should be. We were playing around with this one here, the top bar. All right, so we were here. Look at that. I've got Visual Studio telling me stuff now. That's good. So we'll do both of these, I guess, here. And the best way I could describe these two is Visual Studio uses some math to determine when a element should end, like via pixels, and it does a very bad job of it for our use cases. And so this is sort of forcing it to snap to device pixels and to hopefully help on different people's machines to get rid of some of that weird tearing. It did get rid of some, I have to say. It's definitely better. That's interesting there. That thing that's happening there. I know why that's happening. That's just so funny. Anyway, so I guess we're doing good so far. We've got a background image, and we still got this text here. For some reason, I guess that is not driven by this template. Oh, you can see we can go up and down from the thing. Obviously, it's still there as I go down, which is a problem. But that's for another time. All right, what else would go on this template? Let me think. I think we would want a clear logo, right? And probably something like some sort of either darkening of the background. Before we deal with that, though, we want some kind of clear logo. And so we've got the backgrounds in here. It's inside of this grid. Everything's hunky-dory. Let's add another. Do I need another grid? Yeah, let's add another grid. And inside of that grid, let's use column and row definitions to determine the position of this clear logo. So at this point, a row definition and a column definition, you can, it's also a WPF thing, and it just essentially creates a grid like an Excel spreadsheet, and you can determine how many rows that you want, how many columns that you want, and then you tell it how big you want every single one of the rows and columns using the star numbers, which are relative, more like a percent type of thing. And not really a percent type of thing, but that's one way that you can think of it. And then you can say, I want an item to go inside of one of these rows and columns. I shouldn't do that. That's not fun. Okay, column definition of a width. I'm just putting 1 into each one for now. All right, so I've created 3 rows, 3 columns, and I'm going to create a rectangle for now, fill it with a nice, just pasty looking green, and we're going to place it in the middle. So grid column 1, grid row 1, that's the middle because the first one is 0, 1, and 2, and same here, 0, 1, and 2. So I paste it in the middle of each one of these. What does that look like? Let's find out. That's what it looks like, apparently, if you have 1. Okay, now where do I actually want this stuff? I want this stuff probably more like this and more like this. Let's see what I got now. All right, I'm squishing and squishing and squishing it. I probably want this to be more like 5, and that will allow me to push this one pretty heavily that way. There is a way to make the grid visible, I do believe. I like to do it this way because really the reason I'm using this is to position one element, and that element will be the, I can put it here. It will be the clear logo. And of course I typed clear logos. I'm guessing clear logos. Yeah, okay, so that worked. And I just need to place it inside of the same one as the green thing. And of course change the stretch to just uniform. I don't want it to be going out of view. And I think we're fine here. I'll just put the alignments to be left and center. No, let's do bottom. All right, so you can see what the green box allows me to do is visualize not where one clear logo would go, but where the space that the clear logo has to grow into. And then I said, hey, clear logo, stretch until you hit a wall. And so I can visualize where that wall is. It stretched until it hit the top wall here. I basically said, keep it on the left and the bottom, and then just grow until you hit something. Some of these logos will be long and hit this wall. Some of these logos will be high and hit this wall, like this one's doing. Here's a perfect example of Mortal Kombat 2 hit this wall. And that gives me an idea about where, if I should I make this larger, should I make this smaller? Now I kind of can see that. And I didn't even have a logo for Kirby 64. That's fun. And this background has the logo in it. Yeah. I do not like those backgrounds that have logos in it. I do not like them at all. And so the way that I'm visualizing it and trying to develop this theme, or any theme that I'm developing, is not just what does it look good in my library, how will it look in everyone's library? How will it look, for an example, I know that not everyone might not have have text. I say text has a clear logo and it's going to display a text. Well, I can make a decision of how will that text look. Do I want it to display stuff like that? That's part of the polish layer. I can basically say, hey, it doesn't have a clear logo. Hide this layer and instead display some other nice looking text that I can decide how that's going to look. Or I could just choose this, which is a generated one by LaunchBox or Big Box that generates this text into an image so that at least something displays and the user has an idea of what game this is. Overall, fairly happy with where this is, the size that I'm giving it. I kind of want to give it some more height. So I might be like, have 2 there, bring this down to 9. Double E should provide. Let's go 8. Got even higher. 7. Being a little risky here with the number 7, but that looks better. Okay, so I think I'm happy with the position. I'll get rid of the rectangle, and there you go. You've got that one actually doesn't look so bad since it has its own shadow in the logo itself. That one doesn't have a logo. This one doesn't have a background or a logo. That's an odd one. This one's background is just the word serious. I guess this image must be just the words, maybe Serious Sam. That's an interesting background. Then you get to more of like what I think that people are going to have, which is like an image sort of like this. The logo's there. The logo kind of is meshing with the background a bit, or blending in with the background too much. It's not sticking out as much as I would want. Even this one, which has its own like border around it and its own like thing. I gotta remember to stop downloading backgrounds with logos in it. Look at that. It looks like it's just the game's called Redout 2. Redout 2. Redout 2, the Revenge of Redout 2. Street Fighter 2, that one looks pretty nice actually. What is IDDQD about? Okay, so this this little code there, I mean, other than it being a super famous code for Doom, is now our daily secret code that you can use on our giveaway for our celebration over on our celebration page. If you're wanting to enter the giveaway and add and be super special and get like 15 extra whatever the entries, I guess they call it. Anyway, this looks pretty good, but noticing that there's probably something more I can do to make the logo stand out a bit more, kind of like this. Let's give it a try. There's a few different things that I could do. yeah, type that into LaunchBox. And if you do that, just like on the LaunchBox screen, like something special will happen. What could I do? One thing I could do is I could provide like a shadow on the logo if I wanted to, you know, and I'd probably do it something like this, where or did I type that wrong? Is it effects? It doesn't like me, so maybe not. Yeah, I would do it like this way, and I would type like drop shadow effect, and then I would add the blur radius of whatever, and maybe it would work. I don't like this idea though. Another idea that I might do, let's see if this will work or if I can remember the code for this, is add a there's your show grid lines. Grid lines, that's how you would show the grid lines. What is one way that I could do this? I'll add a background to this grid, and I will put a linear gradient brush in there with a starting point of 0, 0, of course, and an end point of 0, 1, because at least one of the numbers has to be different. Or really what these numbers are saying is, imagine that the start point and end point's always in the top left, and so I don't know, imagine that this mouse is in the top left, and the starting point is basically saying between 0 and 1, which represents 0 and 100%, where do you want this to start, with X being the first number and Y being the second number? So I said 0, 0, so just keep it right there. And then the second one says, where do you want it to end? For the X, which is this way, I want it to end again at 0, and I want it to end at 1, which is 100%, which is all the way down here. So I basically created a vertical gradient. Now, gradient stop are different stops along the way between 0 and 1 that I want to set a color to. And since it starts at the top, I want it to be transparent at offset 0, which is the beginning, at around 50%. I guess I want the color to be black, which of course I forgot to add that's hex for black. And I also want black again at 1. I have a bad feeling about this. I think what I really wanted was this to also be... Let's find out. Yeah, okay, so so what do we got? We've got where the bottom of the image will be blacked out slightly by a little bit to highlight the clear logo that is now above it. And here's a good example. So this is supposed to be just a red glaring background, but the bottom you can see that black linear gradient coming up behind the clear logo. And this hopefully will allow it somewhat to make the clear logo not blend in so much. Hopefully. I think we're okay, and I think that I don't need these animations that keep going off. So let's get rid of them for now. I think I need the storyboards or else I'm going to crash this whole thing out again. All right. I think we're doing okay as far as, of course the animation is still going. There must be an animation in one of these templates. So far so good. This one looks very nice. It's a nice background. Let's get rid of this. Highly recommended games. Here's an easy example for people on how to use triggers to get rid of something. And by easy, I mean I'm really probably going to fumble through this. This is some sort of title that I'm guessing is above everything. The way WPF works is that the lower you get in your code, the closer to the top of your layers that you get, I guess. So if you want something to be on the top of everything, you put it at the bottom of your code. In saying that, that would mean that somewhere, so this is the bottom bar, which I guess is this bar that has like the configure controllers and the system menu. There's probably going to be a top bar where there's the actual time and the title of the section that you're in. I'm guessing that's this. Yeah. Here's a bunch of triggers that I have here. Here's the top list title. Okay. And you can see that if you are in an English speaking language and you get a title that says it's the best of the 90s, switch that title to "This is why the 90s were the best." This is here to give theme developers control, or to give theme developers an example on how to change the titles of their of the actual titles that show up within the Games Discovery Center, the ones that are automated. This will only work, of course, in English. If somebody's loading up a different language, this won't do anything. It'll just ignore it because no title will end up being Best of the 90s. It'll get translated to a different language. Same here, Best of Sega Genesis. If that shows up in the Discovery Center, change that to Sega Genesis does what Nintendo don't. And so what we want to do here is something not like any of that, unfortunately. What we were wanting to do is basically say, if you are on one of the list, the top bar list, whatever that's called, what is that called? If you're on the highly rated list, then make this text disappear, is essentially what I want to do. I feel like I have that already, or I thought I had that already here. I have something else saying that. But before I look for that, I got two questions. What is the secret code? The secret code's right here. So you can take a look and enjoy that little code there. And games 3&D, how it was brought up yesterday, okay, but what would be the best way to hide your name at the top right when activated for streaming? Is that a theme-based question or a UI dev question? Really, there's no way to remove the name. If you're trying to stream just LaunchBox in general, reach out to support at unbrokensoftware.com, and they can help you there. You say, hey, I'm a streamer, I stream on this channel, I want to stream, but is there any way that you can change the name to my gaming alias, whatever it is, games 3ND? And they should be able to help you out there. Now, back to this. I've got a, well, at least I thought I had. Here's everything here. But I'm not seeing any triggers. Here's the animation that I've want to get rid of. Let's get rid of that. Here's a wrap panel of all of the text. It's another kind of container. I'm also not seeing this go away. That's interesting. I swore I thought I did something here. Let me think. Maybe it was just all hiding behind the first one. That's a possibility. And maybe I never built that. Okay. And I'm guessing this is... interesting. Okay, the default metadata media inside of the discovery list. So it is right here. A resource of something fading in and out. The whole thing is fading in and out based on something down here. There you are. That's what I wanted. This guy right here. Okay, so I need to create a new data trigger that's saying if the discovery list type is the recommended one, which is the one that we're dealing with. Make your opacity of this 0. And of course, in order to change a data trigger style, you're going to need to change text. You're going to need to also add the value, the default value here within the styles property. Why is that doing that? There we go. Reposition it all. Did it work though? Let's find out. No, it 100% did not. In saying that, let's see, why is there a reason why it did not work? I assume I'm working with the right. Oh, no, I added it to the wrong one. There you go. That's why. There you go. I was one off. There you go. It's no longer there. It's now there. It's no longer there. It's now there. I think we're okay now. And this the Spriters resource can't stick around, but just wanted to say you guys do a brilliant work. Much love. Thank you so much for coming by and hanging out for a little while. I am probably to the point where we're almost done. I wish I could redo all of these templates and redo all of the stuff and make it look really cool. But I think there's going to be one more thing that I want to do, and that thing is going to be actually two more things. Let's do two more things. The end goal here, let's add back the little dots so that we can tell where we are within this list. And the second thing that we could do is make it so that when I scroll downwards to the continue playing section, make this top bar disappear. And then if we accomplish this, then I can end the stream happy, a happy guy. Let's start with the first one. We're going to add back little dots. Let's start with that. So luckily, I have some of that here. Yeah, right? A life well lived. I can go enjoy a nice beer of success. So there is two different kinds of lists that I said could be put into a thing here, into a template. One of them is what we've just used right there. It's called like cover flow. It's essentially what we use for our wheels. The second one is called list view, which is what we use for our lists, like text lists. Let's find that one. So that one is in the top bar as well. And it looks like this, list view. And you can see in here the list view styles, the list view item panel. This is a good template to use to just grab from the default theme and add it to your theme. So I'm going to do that, show you guys how I can do that as well. I go back up to my lists. So my top bar list right here. And I'm going to add you, if I can recap on what I did. So I've got the border with the white around it. I've got a grid inside of that, which has the visual brush opacity mask. Then I've got this guy here, which is the actual flow control, which is the first list. That's essentially a wheel. Inside of that is the grid. Of course, I should probably just do something like this, where if there's nothing, then just put a background of around like a black background that's slightly faded out. And then inside of the grid, put the background image inside of it. Then put a grid with a linear gradient inside of that, and on top of that, put the clear logo image inside of the middle row and column. All right, so outside of this flow context, or this flow control, let's add a list view so you can have both at the same time. I copied in this list view. It looks like this. The default one, if you just copy and pasted it. Let's take a look at what it looks like without doing anything else. There it is. So it added these little dots, and it looks like I styled one of them, the selected one, blue, and styled the non-selected ones gray. And as I go through it, it's also going through its own list of the same items, giving you an idea of where you are on that list. It's positioned badly. Let's change some of the colors then. How about I just look at the colors. So right here, there's the ellipsis, which is the ellipse, which is the circle. And I said fill it with white, put the opacity at 50. I'm gonna, or 0.5 out of 1. I'm gonna put that down to 0.3. And then the selected one, this is saying if it's selected, make it this color. I mean, what happens if I just make it white? I mean, it's already white. I don't have to put that, but now it makes sense. There you go. Sure. And now I can take this whole list and position it sort of the way that I want. It's already vertically aligned to the bottom. The horizontal alignment is already stretched, so it's basically starting off, it looks like at the bottom left. I'm going to move that, I can just use a margin, wherever I want. So let's put that like that, where the margin has 4 numbers. The first one is the left side margin, top, right, and bottom. Yay. That's not really where I wanted it. So the bottom, I also want to push it up. All right, we're getting there. Let's move that to 80. 800. I don't. No, I really wanted it to be 100. It's okay. What would happen if I just make this in the middle? Will it go into the center? I don't know. Let's find out. It will. Okay. Maybe I'll do that. And then maybe I'll push it down lower. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Yeah, you like it in the middle? The middle looks fine. Looks good. Yeah, I don't mind that. You know, looks good. Looks good to me. So I think we accomplished one of our goals. Let's get the little progression marker there. So that's done. And the last one, if I can remember what it was to make it so that this whole thing disappears. And for that, I can do it two different ways. I can do it in the same way, but slightly different, more advanced or not. I could just use a trigger to say, if you're not on this top bar thing, disappear. It's like instant disappear. Or I could say, if you're not on this top bar, you run this animation and have that animation make it disappear with like a slight fade or whatever animation that I want, really. I think if you were going to really make this, you would use animation, and that's mostly because it adds a lot more polish to it. It doesn't just jankily disappear. And so why don't I do that? So inside of not this template anymore, but down, as I keep going down and down and down, we've got these discovery lists here. That's the main background. That's an interesting one. So this will fade out the background if there's a video that exists. There is a video. I don't have any videos in my view. There's a video preview. Here's all the little bits and pieces that I added to this theme a long time ago. Got the clear logo and the wrap panel, the top title, and the triggers. That changes the title position. Interesting. Okay. That's good to hear. The sort of good news is that I already have this done somewhere. Let's take a look. More than likely, it might be in this template. So if I go inside of this one here, for example, you see all this? Here's a bunch of, to make this simpler to read, what I'm going to do is not do it this way and do it this way. Okay. Is selected, is above selected. Easy enough. Okay, so basically what I want to do is in this border, I'm going to, create a style. And in that style, where of type border, I'm going to set a property opacity value of 1. All right, so I got my opacity value inside of my style. Now inside here, let's start a trigger and let's begin a data trigger of if the item is not selected. Sorry, let's just do is selected. And the value is false. Then begin an enter action where we start a storyboard and we're going to use a double animation storyboard with a duration of, let's say, 0.2, 200 milliseconds. And we're going to, before I say what we're going to do, storyboard target property. So we're going to adjust the opacity, I hope that's how you do it, to 0 over 200 milliseconds with I think everything else is fine. And it's just a linear easing progression. All right, and then of course, I can create an exit action of basically me saying, reverse what you just did with the same amount of time. I think that makes sense. Let's see if I am right. So here's our Panzer Dragoon 2, Super Gem Fighter, and yeah, come back, go away, come back. There you go. We did it. We now borderize the top bar of this theme, and in the process we managed to give you guys a little highlight about how theming in general works, gave you a highlight about how the game's discovery center works, and a little bit about the differences theming wise, and then we jumped into a theme, created a little bit of a different look to the top bar theme, and along the way hopefully giving you a little bit of what it sort of looks like to become a theme developer and struggle with WPF and all that good stuff. And Global Underground, am I one of the devs for real? I am on the team. I am primarily on the team as the product manager here at LaunchBox, but I do dabble and work on a lot of the front end code. So all of the stuff that you're looking at. So all this theming stuff and any of the UI sort of things. But there, we managed to create this new thing. Hopefully for all of you devs, theme devs out there, hopefully allows you to jump in, create the game's discovery center so you can create some more cool looks for this discovery center that I know a lot of people would be looking for. So thank you so much everybody for joining me. And Global Underground, you guys do amazing stuff. Thank you so much, and hopefully you guys join in the celebration if you haven't. Come over to our celebration page if you haven't yet. Trying to find a link here. Here you go. Celebrate with us. Pick up a license. This is the best time for you guys to pick up a license right now. It'll be one of the only sales that we have all year. So it's definitely a great time. Thanks, Rincewind. Hopefully, if you have any questions, you know where to find me. And everybody, you know where to find me over on the forums as Faeran, Faeran. You can send me a PM, and I can help you with any theme-related questions that you might have as best as I can. Games I feel less like I am less likely to try it now. It's over my head. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff, but now there's a video that you can follow. Lots of things that you can jump into and just sort of, maybe for those people that just want to jump in and change that one little thing, it gives you some place to start, and we can always be here to fill in the rest of the gaps for you guys. All right, thank you so much for joining. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the celebration. We'll be back tomorrow doing a more fun stream where we're going to play a bunch of games, answer all of your questions, especially over on the AMA thread. We'll be answering all of your questions. There'll be 3 of us on the stream, and it'll be a fun time. So we'll see you guys then tomorrow. Have a good one, guys. Take care.